Albuquerque needs more public transportation. So to bolster more support for it, I think we should make aware of the health benefits, one of which is decreasing air pollution. As a starting point, here's how air pollution affects us.
We obviously are vulnerable to lung disease. You know, if you breathe pollutants for a long time, it can lead to, especially in young kids, it can reduce the development of the lung, the growth of the lung, and in older people, it can make the lung disease worse. You know, so if you think about emphysema, there's some small associations with lung cancer. There's also a lot of associations with cardiovascular disease. So people who are more vulnerable to having a heart attack, even stroke, there have been associations between high air pollution and those children growing up in areas with high air pollution are more prone to developmental challenges like autism-like syndrome, and more older individuals may be more prone to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So kind of both ends of the spectrum there in terms of being young and vulnerable versus being old and vulnerable. And then also we're starting to see now that moms as sort of a unique population. You know, they're both an adult healthy person, but they're also this growing fetal parasite, if you will, and they're particularly vulnerable to some of the aspects of air pollution. So we've actually, one of the things we've been studying is how moms can develop hypertension or high blood pressure as a result of being exposed. Cognitive abilities as well as depressive symptoms are being associated with air pollution now. When your lungs are responding to the air pollution, they can, just as part of that normal response, they release a lot of broken proteins that are normally in the lungs. They get broken as a result, and we say they shed out into the blood. And when they're in the blood, they can then get to the brain, and they open up what we call the blood-brain barrier. Normally you've got this really tight barrier that prevents stuff in the blood from going uncontrolled into the neurons of your brain. And when you have that breakdown, it can cause sort of an inflammatory process, which is like the immune cells of the brain don't know how to handle things. They're normally supposed to help with making sure all your neurons connect and network properly. But when they have to deal with the blood vessels, they're not doing their job. And so we think that's kind of the connection as to why you go from having something circulating to a failure of like thinking, being able to think and being able to perform well on tests, as well as like depressive outcomes.